Workout smashed. I needed that. I've been like that since that demo, just exhausted. So, first day back in, man. Get it in ya, eh? Got to do some video thank yous today. Got a lot of thank yous to make. Apologies, I've been a bit missing. United Kingdom, eh? Wait till you see the next one, everyone. They can't stop it. That's the thing. Everyone who went to each one, from the 30,000 went and bought friends, 100,000 they bought more friends, 200,000 they bought more friends, millions, you're going to bring more friends to the next one, because you had a great day. And I apologise that some people didn't get to make the event because the area was not big enough. The next area will be big enough, yeah? We're making history, people. And the government are shitting themselves. The establishment, watch them all try and ride the patriotic wave. All of them. They're all going to jump ship. But you are doing that. You're making that possible. You're giving them the courage to change and speak. On behalf of youth, that's their job, the mugs. But yeah, have a good day, everyone. What have I got today? I've got interview, but I'll jump in at some point, yeah?
Tommy Robinson has released a new video thanking supporters for what he describes as a historic moment in London, claiming that his movement is growing at a scale the government and political establishment can no longer ignore. Speaking directly to camera in his familiar, defiant tone, Robinson framed the latest event in the capital not as an isolated protest, but as part of a swelling tide of grassroots activism. You like the kingdom, eh? Wait till you see the next one. Everyone, they can't stop it, he told his followers, estimating that each demonstration has multiplied its reach as attendees return with friends and family. He boasted that 30,000 grew to 100,000, then 200,000, and predicted that future rallies would draw millions. The activist acknowledged the logistical issues that left some unable to attend. I apologize that some people didn't get to make the event because the area was not big enough. The next area will be big enough, he promised, signaling plans for larger-scale mobilization. Robinson's rhetoric cast the rallies as more than demonstrations. They were, in his words, a force shifting Britain's political landscape. We're making history, people, and the government are themselves, the establishment. Watch them all try and ride the patriotic wave, he said, suggesting that mainstream politicians would be forced to respond. He credited his supporters with giving public figures the courage to adopt positions once dismissed as fringe. The video also gave a glimpse into Robinson's personal schedule. He noted a day lined with media appearances, interview, indicating that he intends to use the heightened visibility from the London event to further amplify his message. For critics, Robinson's words will be seen as a dangerous attempt to inflate numbers and legitimize extremist politics through claims of popular momentum. For supporters, however, his promise of bigger venues and larger turnouts offers a sense of momentum and inevitability. What is clear is that Robinson is determined to present his movement as unstoppable, portraying himself as both the voice of a swelling patriotic base and a man whose influence is now forcing the political class to pay attention. Whether that claim holds under scrutiny, the narrative he is building is designed to inspire loyalty and anticipation among his followers, while keeping his name firmly in the headlines.
A shocking new data report has revealed that taxpayers have coughed up, get this, £250 million for foreign patients who have not paid for their treatment on the already struggling National Health Service. A whopping £252 million was not recovered from overseas patients treated between just July 2021 and through to 2024. Enough to fund 3,200 more GP surgeries or build 70 new surgeries. And unsurprisingly, amongst the trusts that owed the most were 8 out of the 10 worst performing in the UK. Well, this comes as the NHS approaches breaking point, with over 7 million patients still waiting elective treatment and 3 in 4 hospitals missing their cancer targets. That's despite a cash injection of £29 billion at the Chancellor's last budget. Well, joining me now is NHS GP and health commentator Dr. Basha Mukherjee. Dr. Basha, thank you so much for joining me tonight. This is a pretty stark report here, this £250 million. Many people will be asking tonight, and this is the first thing that came to my mind, is that should the NHS be charged at the point of use for non-British nationals?
Well, here's the thing. You're only looking at the hospital figures, and let's not forget that that doesn't include all the people that are turning up to A&Es and GP practices, which, by the way, is completely free and fully paid for by the British taxpayer. And I'm working in GP practices myself, and we know that people coming from other countries or wherever they're from, it does put a tremendous amount of pressure on the practices, on the frontline services like A&Es and GP practices, to keep seeing more patients. And that does mean that other patients, British patients, will not get a chance to get those same appointments. And we're not even considering the amount of money that we're spending from a GP and an A&E point of view. I absolutely agree that we are setting a very bad precedent. We're showing, again, this is, you guys say this all the time on your show about soft touch Britain, essentially, that it's a free service, anybody can come and abuse it. These same people in any other country would have to pay to access healthcare, even A&Es. So I think it's really unfair for tax-paying British citizens.
Yeah, and of course, we want the money to be invested into our services. That's why we pay our taxes. And many people are happy to pay more tax so our NHS gets better, because we care about our health. It's the most important thing when everything comes down to a T, isn't it? What can the Health Secretary do here? Because I'm hoping he'll be looking at these numbers and going, crikey, that is a whopping amount of money that I could be spending building those 3,000, recruiting those 3,200 other GPs and building new surgeries. Has he got any powers here? And should the government maybe do something about this?
Well, let's be honest, a lot of these figures are reflective of hospitals, and even as of yet, the large majority, over almost 90% of the NHS budget goes to hospitals, given the fact that they're the ones that are bleeding the NHS money in the way that they operate. At the same time, we have GPs who are currently jobless, even though patients across the country are looking to see a GP, but they're being, put on waiting lists. They can't get a hold of their GPs. I would say it's really important to address this issue. And part of the problem is the fact that there's more red tape and, chasing these payments, chasing these, bills, all of these things, they create more work for NHS staff. And we already see that, I personally experienced this, that when you ever call a waiting list or any admin staff in the NHS, nobody seems to know the answer. They keep passing the buck. It gives me the impression that actually the staff are burnt out. They're not able to operate at the level of pressure, the volume of patients that we're having to see. And a big part of that problem is immigration. But equally, a gigantic part of the problem is the fact that West Treating and the previous government kept, and I know the taxpayer feels that they're already spending so much money, but it's going to the wrong place. And the frontline staff are not getting paid enough. We are bleeding staff, and as a result, all these critical mistakes are happening, which is resulting in even more losses of funds. And where is this money being spent? West Treating and his fellows are actually privatising the NHS, selling services to private companies in much bigger sums, essentially, than it would cost to just retain staff. So I think it's a two-pronged problem, in all honesty.
Yeah.